And so let us get started. So our first poet is somebody that I've known. I was trying to figure it out, and I think it's 15 years. It might be 14. Michael Mackin O'Mara. And with a wonderful group of friends, Michael Mackin O'Mara edits and publishes SoFlo Pojo, South Florida Poetry Journal. Some of Michael's work can be found at www.michaelmackino'mara.com. And I believe Judy put that in the chat. And Judy, did you put some links to other things in there? Yes. Okay. So with that, Michael, where are you?
I'm the moving target.
Oh, there you are. Thank you.
I'm the one who can't sit still.
Thank you. Go ahead, and everybody, please make sure you're muted. There are a couple people who are not muted at the moment. Don't want to embarrass anyone. Jamie. Judy can mute you.
Judy can mute me?
I think so.
Oh, and
there you go. You're good. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. 3 dreams. 1. Among concrete and soot-conquered limbs, outcrops an official building. From behind that evening edifice, an official man, herringboned and 50. His lips frame black holes as he speaks at me. His tongueless monologue punctuated with inept, broken smiles. I cross from him and again start home. It's November. A low moon ghosts through bare trees, shadowing my walk past dusk after dusk-faced house. Wind-brittled leaves scratched by my feet and clutch the cold joints of near-dormant hedge. Through a landscape melding with a blackening sky, the man stalks me. The moon stalks us both. I corner, and he's younger. In the edge of my eye, he sheds his years. He crosses toward the park, his age, his aching gait, his clothing gone. Silver white. He dances, moonlight. Chekhov's gun, or the company we keep. Tucked between the upholstered sides and cushions of his beige, low-backed barrel chair, my fingers find the cold steel of his single-action Glock. Ah, he begins, as his eyes track my hands. I slowly raise them, empty, and web my fingers together, chest level. Maybe I'll sit somewhere else. It's the life I've lived, he explains. I pull into a parking lot and the man from nowhere appears. Know what time it is, he asks. His arm rests on the roof of my car as he leans toward the driver's window. Before I answer, a second voice from behind. Time to get out of the effing car. Slight pressure and shock, chilling the tender skin behind my left ear. Cold nose of a snub 38, I'm guessing. It tells me, don't turn around. My feet still on the clutch and brake. I floor it, surprising both them and me. From sleep, a ruckus next door. The young couple in another late-night knockdown. I step out the back door into the sweating moonlight, but my upstairs neighbor stops me. I got this, he says. Go on, back inside. His tone and the burp gun in his right hand convince me. 3 of his buddies arrive similarly armed. They drag the boy into the yard. You like to hit girls, my neighbor asks, and then the boy's nose is bleeding. That's what you like. The boy folds in two. They lift him to hit him again. The girl is screaming. Shut up, my neighbor growls, and she does. Next morning, the young lovers are gone. We're sitting in the kitchen sipping coffee, me, my lover, our weed man neighbor, who's brought his blue budgie with him. I can't stand to see him like this, the weed man's repeating. A neighbor cat had gotten their teeth into the bird, now flightless, but still dancing, talking, picking breakfast out of our stash, muttering seeds, seeds the whole time. To the bark of a dirty Harry, the kitchen wall cracks and caves, the cabinet door rattles, the slug continues on, taking out a jar of mayo. My God, they could have killed us, the weed man shouts. When the cop, who the hell called the cops, sees the hole in the wall, the split cabinet door, the dead mayo, he swears, that's a effing cannon. It's ours. Before we find out, the old lady next door has been shooting at her grandkids. The twins had been skinny dipping in the fountain of the courthouse, and she just couldn't take no more. What about the bird? My astute readers ask. After my lover and the weed man get busy, the bird moves in. I build birdland with chutes and ladders, a winter house near the fireplace, not too near, a summer house on the porch. He climbs, beak and talon, to the ceiling, hangs upside down, and talks a blue streak flutters to the floor in what's left to pass as flying. My God, is the bird's new catchphrase. Odd how a lifetime becomes a handful of words. Years later, he meets me at the front door. He's never done that before. Quiet and still, and oh so small. I hold him as he passes in twilight. I think the only thing you need to know about this poem is the setting is Baltimore. Blackbirds, ravens, crows. When blackbirds fall from flight, gravity recoils, reasserts herself. Fashioned wings, blood-stained, known and unknown, blood-stained. From their window, you can see Johns Hopkins Eastern Campus. A 3-mile, 13-minute zigzag would get you to the ER of a hospital ranked 4th in all the world. 8 minutes, a block raven, would get you to Good Sam. When time dilation and time perception are one, when the feathers of all hollows ride your winged mind or the minds beneath your minds, will no one stay awake with me? Gone, everyone but your better angels. Tell me, Lord, where the sweet soul sings. If there were witnesses and clairvoyance, and weren't there 3 times, none. 'Twas midnight all the day. It's midnight still, as Tag'em and Bag'em crews shepherd no ones from nightmares too. 14 minutes down Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, 2 blocks south of the House of Poe. Eternity as the crow flies. 6 stages in 3 movements. 1. I'm in another of those stupid tropes where a watch stops as our hero steps into infinity, as though the measuring device comprehends the measure, or a kettle grasps its brew. No. I read another and another as the pot boilers call time. Clever and cruel, I know everything about nothing and know what falls away. It's a muscular sky that pushes my head underwater. Fortunately, I still have my gills, my webbed toes, the wetsuit I was born into. It wrinkles swift among strange fish in strange waters. Aren't fish tales where wild innocence goes to die? 2. Our 7th planet has vertical rings. Our 9th, demoted to dwarf, has red snow, and looking back from further out, an iridescent blue halo. A day there takes 153 Earth hours. In the very last chapter of John, 153 is the number of fish Peter and company catch while Walking Dead Jesus uses his built-in fish-finding sonar. 153 days did the ark wallow before Ararat, say scholars of the geometry. 153 is the sum of Anai Elohim, and also the house name in which I first found. 3. Do you know you can hear thunder underwater? Do you now? Gabriel Jose de la Concordia Garcia Marquez says light is like water. For extra credit, name 50 ways water is like light. My halo, my rings are invisible to me. Can you see? Sometimes only my wake tells where I've been. Even though lightning prefers land, it will take out a boat for the heck of it. Stun a few fish. Words like water, thoughts like lightning, pre-alpha, pre-numeric, naked, alone, thrashing, sputtering, drowning, while a kettle of pre-thought boils, roils by, shooting the rapids of a mind's bubbling ascent. I failed to give a content warning. My next book will be titled Content Warning. Everything I write has a content warning. Here comes some more. The Runner. I see my first nudes in the skin mags my brother hides between his bureau drawers. I buy one with the courage of a pocket full of change, counted out on the cigar store counter. Read sex acts and paperbacks hidden beneath my dad's bed, but prefer beneath my mom's. Love scenes read and reread into memory. Most school nights I ride the public transit. More and more I notice crude depictions of private parts on the metal of the seats in the back of the bus, on the partitions in the terminal restrooms. Young dudes bragging of privates over a foot long, vaginas like hairy eyes peeking sideways from among phone numbers and magic marker breasts, or peni distorted like balloons a clown twists and shapes into poodles and party hats. They may as well have been glyphs on a cave wall. One day after JV cross country, a competitor pulls off his tank top, reclines on it like a beach towel beside me. He is the bronzest white boy I have ever seen, long-boned and muscular. Says his name is John, whispers he's tanned all over, and hooks a thumb under his waistband. I tell him I believe him. He smiles and says he has to pee and asks me to go with him. I wait outside while he does his business and return to the oddest looks from my team. That night, I take the late bus to the first and then the second of 2 terminal stations, put a coin in the restroom door, more magic marker graffiti scrawled on the walls, spitting empty balloons of cartoon conversation. I think of John lying beside me and his invitation. Hey, white bread, interrupts the tallest of 4, holding a small silver penknife that catches the light just right. The kind of knife you might sharpen a stick with and then actually have a weapon. You got some spare change? There's nothing in his laughing eyes to worry me. While one goes through my knapsack, he stands behind me and almost whispers, "What I find, I keep." His hands slide into my empty back pockets. I think of Elvis reciting times tables. He gives my cheeks a quick squeeze, as though testing melons at the market. I had forgotten the torn left front pocket until his fingers brushed my thigh. He is too close not to feel the shiver, sense the stifled sigh. He laughs while his lingering left hand electrifies my skin and his right scoops up my last 65 cents. The fellow who emptied my knapsack holds up my meal tickets from school. Mr. Penknife shakes his head, winks, smiles, laughs again, and they are gone. As I gather my books, papers, pens, pencils, enter an older man in a dark suit. He asks me to please stay. Promises he won't hurt me. Says he can make me happy. There's something about his eyes, not threatening, but wounded. I push past him and run half the way home. Arabesque with chorus and assorted familiars. It's a slow startle tumbling toward. Today, by the roadside, a brother critter lies prone like a sunbather, their white fur from chin to lump of sex, a long single feather on a narrow filigree trail. Eyes shut, nose lifted, filled with ineffable morning glories. Sibling rodents stare. I should do something, I think, as the tethered tug and wag. Everyone in the stream dead. Dream after dream, more and more dead. And here they are, assembled, smiling, still smelling of incense and bouquets, and it seems pleased to see me. Taking your sweet time now, aren't you? They jokingly chimed. Oh, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years like a day, I reply, and our practiced repartee. Sing us a song, they beg, while their growling gargle belies all the promises of heavenly choirs. I do sing. Not in my oldster's voice, I sing in my even older, young voice. Oh, like a trumpet it sounds. I watch as they and I watch, young me and my left the bright seraphim moment. Ave and other clamors and Marias float above us like angel feathers. I float in yet another blessing of tears, like the night I dreamt I could run again, for the stink, sweat, joy of it, galloping, leaving a repeating V of wake wave in the wind, not to keep things whole, but for divine excess. Look at me, alive in the world, for all that care to look or listen. Oh, and those other dreams, when I am fully in a working body, doing crazy, miraculous working body things. Even now, those waves, toe tickle to spine, rise and wash above all else as this fleeting eternity collapses into left days new. Momentarily, I spy each me stacked like dominoes, cascading, uncascading, tumbling, untumbling, a multitude of me in the oddest calisthenics. Oh, cheer me on. More and more. I sleep to wake within this petite kindness that blossoms into nights as stark and simplified as light and dark, into achingly grateful mornings that whisper, be every bit of you now. My spine fills, lifts, unifies. I wish there were words. They, my fellow critters, break off their stare, and I gulp the dregs of liquid air laced with every unimaginable, and the water that is me crests and breaks and sings all the louder. Its wind-blown water song. Every bit now. When Albert Pinkham Ryder painted you as the night sky, when night becomes your shadow, clouds sway like pendulums from pinhole stars. In the mason jar of a make-believe heart you strode, dangling from the stop clock of you know who. Thank you all.
Thank you, Michael. Gorgeous stuff. Uh, We were all spellbound. Thank you. So the chat is now open. And it's a great time for you to let Michael know how you felt about his work. Um, and while we do that, I will introduce our next poet. Holly Iglesias' work includes 3 books of poetry: Sleeping Things, Press 53, Angles of Approach, White Pines Press, and Souvenirs of a Shrunken World, Corey Press First Book Award, and a critical work, Boxing Inside the Box, Women's Prose Poetry, Quail Press. She is the recipient of fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts, the North Carolina Arts Council, the Edward Albee Foundation, and the Massachusetts Cultural Council. Her current projects are Future Relics of Future Saints, a full-length poetry manuscript, and Dear Everybody, 1947, an annotated collection of letters written after World War II by her mother and 6 friends she made while working at a defense plant in St. Louis during the war. They remained friends for the rest of their lives. And with that, we give you Holly Iglesias. Holly?
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it and seeing everybody. And I have to say that after listening to Michael's mellifluous voice and his beautiful delivery of his powerful poems, I'm going to sound kind of like the newspaper by comparison. So, what a beautiful performance. I mean, especially for the performance poets. Yeah. So, as I said at the beginning, Michael's poem Ars Poetica had a list of things that a poem can be. And so I picked some of them that helped me pick my poems. And these are some things that he had in his poem. A poem can be an oracle, a treatise, a mile marker, a time capsule. So that was kind of my organizing principle. And I will say that the epigraph to the collection that I just finished is from Emily Dickinson, that to me is the perfect description of what a prose poem is. And that's what I write, is prose poetry. I write in chunks. That's all I do. But listen to this from Emily Dickinson and see how this applies to prose poetry. Essential oils are wrung. The attar from the rose be not expressed by suns alone. It is the gift of screws. So that said, these poems definitely reflect a lot of condensation and compression. And I'm going to start with one called Watch Your Step. A poem halts, squinting the world down to a bearable sliver. The process of reduction like that for blackstrap, long simmering and a final boil, or for cider, apples ground first, then pressed and pressed, the screw tightening with each twist until the golden juice weeps into the bucket and the mottled pulp is tossed to the pigs. It's hard to list all that's been lost, the price that was paid, so hard that even the passive voice can't soften it. And should that loss be a catastrophe, there still is no stitch for the gape of that wound, no smooth orb to replace that empty socket. Look, there at the edge of the field, a field of modest proportions, like this one, a heap of dirt and gravel, and beside it, a hole. Nothing to do but walk up and take a good look, the toe of your right shoe pressing against the crumbling edge. And this one is kind of a looking back at, writing a book at 76 makes you realize this was probably the last book. So trying to cram a lot of things in. I'll just say that this is like looking at youth. You start to look at youth as a path toward how did we get here, looking at the years. So it's also like that 70s, 60s, 70s song, Talk About My Generation. So this is it. It's called Leaving the Garden. Some of us withdrew our youth from Bank of America, pocketed what little we had accrued and fled. Woodstock already passed into legend, into co-optation and cliche, our anthems of peace and love drained of dreams. Flag wavers blistered with rage, flag burners sure of defeat, wrecked soldiers shipped home to more wreckage. The first goodbye, a defiance still the path beneath my feet. Yes, we came home finally, but eventually departure over and over became the life. Out on the limb, the weight that had seemed so slight, close to the trunk, became gravity itself. A heft sufficient to snap the whole branch and leave the tree bereft. Thank you. Gotta get some water. This one starts with an epigraph by Jose Marti, the Cuban poet, and it kind of compresses a great deal of time and locations into a box, which I tend to do. So here's the epigraph, first in Spanish and then translated. Y todo como el diamante, antes que luz es carbón. And everything, like the diamond, is darkness before it is light. Anguished and broken, Martí convalesced in the Catskills, where he wrote the poems that continue to outlive him and endear him to lovers and zealots throughout the hemisphere. His versos sencillos and Nitzaviapos Cocina Cubana were put in my hands by my new mother-in-law, a head shorter than me and always dressed for a funeral. As I boarded a plane to New Orleans, where I grabbed my passport from the house I shared with 6 other hippies on Panola Street, which is not far from the St. Charles streetcar, which began running in 1835 and at the time of my departure cost a dime. I was fleeing the States with a draft dodger and moving to Zaragoza, a fascist bastion since their civil war, where we lived until our war ended, not yet knowing that wars do not end. By the time Saigon fell, I had 2 babies, 1 naturalized, 1 native born, a passport full of border crossings, and 2 languages, neither of which had a word for what I would come to know of exile. My dad got a big kick out of the fact that that's where we were going. He's like, "You're going to the last fascist country in Europe, hippie girl? I mean, hello." So part of this collection of poems is not funnily, not comically, looking at what's the fascist country now and where's the repression coming and what did we flee and is it everywhere and all of it. So, these poems are come over a period of about 10 years, which is about the time I guess it takes to do a collection unless you're super fast. And this one has evolved in its meaning because of our current situation. The title is God Loves the Stranger, and the word for stranger is extranjero, which means the strange one in Spanish. So, God loves the stranger. God loves the stranger far from home and no way back, loves the yearning heart, the fevered memory, and appetite for the past. The stranger walks at a remove, the habits of distance evident by the tilt of his hat and his wary gait moving him from one side of the street to the other. He ducks into a luncheonette, takes a stool, and from this perch creates a place for himself the size of a placemat. Newspaper folded around the puzzle, a mug, a spoon, a bowl. This daily shelter temporary, lasting only as long as lunch can last at a Formica counter. The food salty, beige, alien. And this one is about legislation that was recently worked upon in Spain to recover historical memory. Because part of the deal after Franco died was that their civil war had been so brutal and just ruthless that they wouldn't be able to proceed without just letting the history go. We will never talk about this again. And it was called the Pact of Forgetting. So thinking about that and where we are today, this poem is called El Pacto del Olvido, Pact of Forgetting. And its epigraph is by a Spanish poet, Jaime Gil de Biedma. In Spanish, de todas las historias de la historia, la más triste sin duda es la de España, porque termina mal. Of all the stories in history, The saddest, without a doubt, is that of Spain because it ends badly. Spain could not be born as a modern nation until Franco died. The state by then coeval with his reign of terror. 40 years of fratricide, kidnapping, and rape, the memory of which wrecked any chance for survivors to live in peace and govern themselves. Thus, it was agreed to forget, to impose silence on the bloody past. These were my beginnings among cultures bred to forget. Spain in the old world, Cuba in. Now, decades later, in my own country, I see again this desire, this will to deny history, to turn our backs on memory and turn the nation bereft against itself. This was an ekphrastic poem after a 1926 portrait by the Spanish painter Remedios Varo. And it's a portrait of her grandmother that she painted at age 18. Portrait of the Grandmother, or The Sleep of Reason. Some 200 miles east of Zaragoza, birthplace of my first child, not far from the ghost town of Belchite, and not far from Goya's birthplace, lies the village of Angles. Close enough to Barcelona for the budding to spend the day, intellectuals and their dangerous thoughts, and not too far from the cave outside Manresa, where Ignatius of Loyola spent a year in prayer, the fruits of which became the Jesuit spiritual exercises, a form of contemplation to which I turn each time I try to make sense of my 23rd year. It is a practice as arid, as rocky as paths through the Pyrenees, nothing behind or ahead but barren peaks. Although 50 years later, during the season of Advent, my object of meditation is the portrait made by the artist of Angles at age 18 of her grandmother. A hardened woman, a face as full of crags as Extremadura, despite the tinge of wit in the left eye and the lamp-illumined rim of the right ear. The crown of the head topographical, a landscape of furrows, the part in the hair a ditch through red soil, the eyes pooled on either side of the steeply sloped nose, overall a study in mass and contour. A solid thing, a top, a neck, draped in black, the black of 1926, the black of the reign of Primo de Rivera, short-lived but harbinger of things to come, harbinger of bloodbaths, of mass graves, of orphans sold, of bloodlust and betrayal on such a scale that it was only this year that a law to recover historical memory was drafted, and only this year, 4,000 miles safely west of Spain, that I put the book of Remedios Varo's paintings on the free table at the laundromat, returned to my apartment, and locked every lock of every door. So this one is a change of venue and hopefully a change of tone to Lorraine Niedecker, the poet who was quite prolific and well known in a small circle of poets during her lifetime. A working class woman who lived very hard and wrote tiny, tiny, incisive poems. And that's the epigraph. This line is the epigraph is the two lines that conclude a 43-word poem entitled, and here's the epigraph. May prose and property both die out and leave me peace. Picture her in a hat once that had a bit of flair, but that was long ago. So picture her now, Lorene, ever spare, ever wary, tramping through reeds, through muck and rubber boots and a bulky coat, faded plaid, probably a man's coat, but she's a woman in it, a woman of hard hungers and ideas honed like a felling axe. Upper Midwest Lake Country, town where the post office matters as much as the bank. But Lorene, it's her house that matters for her, just a really. But hers in a way that says, I don't give a good goddamn about hanging wallpaper or anything other than reading and writing. Lorene, alone indoors and out, not much company but the typewriter, her keen eye on the neighbor screwing the lid of a popcorn can over a hole in his wall so the wind won't mouse in, which is what Lorene does. She lays down tiny lines, this time 8 of them, tight and tidy on the page, then looks away, maybe through the back window, the one by the pump, before she raises it a crack, letting the grief out and letting the mouse in. I love Lorene. This last one is an homage, kind of complicated, to my home place, which is Missouri, which did not prepare me to live in fascist Spain or in Miami. But here we are. So it's called Sod, not surprisingly, Sod. My forebears settled on the Great Plains, a sea of grass with roots so dense they cut into blocks to make houses. Fleeing the European upheavals of 1848, their arrival sparked another upheaval, one that pushed the Osage, Pawnee, and Quapaw further west. Now as then, the geography is mostly flat and plain, the land shaping its people, their character forthright and frank. In my 22nd year, I married a refugee, hoping that together we could build a world of our own, using what we had at hand and a shared sense of home. The optimism of the young must be forgiven if they blindly move beyond their home place, unaware that custom too is a language, hard to learn, harder to translate, as is history. Thank you.